Hello and welcome to another edition of Mustang Basketball with Brad Bigler. I'm Kelly Loft, Athletic Communications Director at Southwest Minnesota State University, and thanks for joining us again this week as we talk Mustang basketball. A Mustang victory, an exciting one-point victory for the Mustangs last Saturday versus Northwest Missouri State. We'll talk to the head coach, we'll take a look at some of the highlights, and then we'll look ahead to this weekend's big conference weekend as SMSU hosts Augustana and Wayne State at the RA facility. And joining us as always on the show is the head coach of the Mustang men's basketball program, Brad Bigler, and the Mustangs now 3-1 on the season as they wrap up their non-conference portion of their schedule with a 47-46 victory over Northwest Missouri State. And it was a game, coach, just a beautiful game played both offensively, defensively, crisp passes, great shooting, everything you'd want in a college basketball game.
And when you have 1 point in the first 10 minutes of the game, that's what you're going to have, right?
And, of course, joking a little bit about the game, but the Mustangs did get the win. That's the great thing about it. Despite the poor shooting that the Mustangs endured through the entire 40 minutes, you got the stops you needed late, and that was a team victory to say the least. And as you're right, it took 9.5 or 10.5 minutes to get a basket to start the game, and it wasn't because you didn't have great looks. It just sometimes the ball just doesn't go in, but regardless, you get the win. But as I just mentioned, sometimes it doesn't matter what you do, the ball just won't find the hole.
And that was the case on Saturday. It was we had some open looks from three, we had some open looks from the post area, some open layups, and there was something on that rim. We couldn't put it in the hole, and fortunately, though, we did get some stops, and the guys competed, and we were getting some defensive rebounds. And sometimes with that 1 point in the first 10 minutes, you might think, well, they probably had that same turnover issue. They were turning the ball over all the time. Well, fortunately, that wasn't the case. We weren't turning the basketball over like we were the previous couple of games, and that gave us a chance. We were still getting shots. We were still making them defend. Got a few of their guys in foul trouble at times, but all in all, that first half was pretty ugly.
Yeah, the Mustangs in the opening half shoot just 17%, 4 of 24, 9 of 14 from the free throw line. What was unusual about it, Coach, was in your first 3 games you shot very well from the field, over 50% as a team. Shot extremely well from the free throw line after 3 games at almost 90%, and all those numbers just thrown out the window in this contest. But you shoot so poorly in the first half, and you look at the first half numbers, and you're ahead at halftime by a score of 18-16. But again, if you can't make shots, you can still play good defense, and I felt your guys did a pretty good job of doing that and making the shots difficult for Northwest Missouri State. And
there were some keys of the game, and we'll watch on the clips, but a few of the keys of the game defensively, though, number one was defending ball screens. They have some guys who can use ball screens. They have some speed and some guys that present matchups or mismatches if you come off a ball screen the right way. And that was a key. And we'll see on the clips how we defended ball screens at a better level than we did the first time we played them. Obviously, defensive rebounding was another thing that we had to focus on. They hurt us last time, getting some offensive rebounds. And last time we talked about it, not only were they scoring on their offensive rebounds last time, but they also got Scott Rail and Taylor Hughesby in some foul trouble early in the game because of those offensive rebounds. So it was important to clean those stuff up, and I thought we did throughout the game. And at halftime, when we got to that point, it was really just staying positive with the guys and make sure that there's continue to keep working hard to use the defensive end to provide us energy and not allow that offensive missed shots, the lack of execution to get us down. And I thought throughout the game, our defense, no question about it, carried us with our energy and our effort.
Well, the Mustangs held an 18-16 halftime lead, led by 3 points about 6 minutes into the second half, and Northwest just kept chipping away and eventually took a 9-point lead with under 3 minutes to go. You had the basketball with under 3 minutes to go, down 9. And Jordan Miller, who finished the game with 13 points and 10 rebounds, a first career double-double for the sophomore from Mitchell, South Dakota. But he hits a 3 and then had a 3-point play, and you're down to, I think those are keys there, obviously, but to get you back into it was you made the stops, and you got a missed three-pointer by the Bearcats. The Mustangs got the rebound, and then some big turnovers. Scott Rail and Taylor Hughesby, a couple of seniors, got the steals that gave you a chance, and that just goes to show that to make a comeback, you have to do it on the offense, but more importantly, you have to get stops on defense, and you end the game on a 10-0 run in the final 2:51 to get the victory.
And there was a stretch there in that second half. We turned the basketball over 2 straight times and gave them 4 points, easy baskets, where they had the momentum. And give our guys a lot of credit. You talked about Taylor Hughesby and Scott Rail stepping up and getting some steals. Those were big momentum swings back in our favor to just get us that extra possession that we needed to make up that difference.
Yeah, again, the Mustangs end the game on a 10-0 run, finishing up 2.1 seconds to go. Scott Rail fouled right near the basket, and Mustangs down a point, and he calmly hit 2 free throws to give the Mustangs a 1-point win. The Bearcats did have a three-pointer at the buzzer that went off, and the Mustangs did win 47-46. SMSU just 14 of 22 from the free throw line, but Scott Rail making 2 clutch free throws to get the win for SMSU. And a play that we also need to talk about 15 seconds prior to that, Mustangs down by a couple points. Scott misses a free throw, and Trent Carlson came down with a huge offensive rebound that you're down a point at this time, and this gave you that last possession. The Mustangs, Carlson grabbed the rebound, he called timeout and set up the play to give a chance. And was that the look that you wanted? I mean, it was a great pass by Bernard Birch to Scott Rail there in the last 2 seconds, and I'm sure he's still wondering how he didn't make the basket, but that kind of typified the entire day.
Well, that offensive rebound first with Trent, that's something we talk about all the time. You'll see that at the end of ball games where it's a lack of focus, where a guy won't box out, won't gain ground, and go up and get the rebound. And it was a long rebound. Trent took advantage of it, got the rebound, gave us that opportunity to set up that last play. On that last play, it broke down. The timing on the play was a little bad. It broke down. That's where a team like Taylor Hughesby, Scott Rail, they kept their cool. Taylor Hughesby had a handoff to Bernard, which we'll see on the film. Bernard took it aggressively to the basket. Scott stepped up in the open area, and we all thought he was going to make the layup, but he did get fouled, and fortunately he went up and knocked down the 2 free throws. Yes,
the Mustangs with 12 offensive rebounds in the game. They outscored the Bearcats in second chance points 12-3, and points off turnovers, kind of an unusual number. The Mustangs had just 13 turnovers. Northwest with 14 turnovers in the game, but they took advantage of those turnovers and outscored the Mustangs 19-8. Off points off turnovers, so give Northwest credit there, and the Mustangs do get the win though, 47-46. As I mentioned, Jordan Miller a double-double, 13 points and 10 rebounds. Balanced scoring after that. Scott Rail 9 points, 5 rebounds, 8 for Trent Carlson off the bench, and then 5 points for Matt Zager, including a three-pointer as well. And, we've played 4 games now, Coach, and we'll see some of the highlights and some of the plays you were talking about, but a short non-conference season. Now you begin conference play. Talk about your younger players, and we look at Bernard Birch had just the 1 turnover in 32 minutes. Also Jimmy Abraham with just the 1 turnover. Are these guys progressing that you would want them to, some of these newcomers and young players? Because as we talked about in last week's show, there's not much time to worry about or try to develop your offense and defensive scheme, because now we're in conference here as we head into the month of December.
And you're right about both Bernard and Jimmy. I think they've used this first 4 games as a way of getting better, and hopefully over the course of those first 4 games, they saw some matchups with the Walters kid at South Dakota State, the kid at Northwest Mo, who's very talented. The combination of those guys, I mean, those are tough matchups, and the different types of players. One's a scorer, one's more of a fast, speedy guy who can be a playmaker, and I thought they defended at a decent level. I think that's something that we're going to continue to improve with both of those guys. The point guard spot is something that, in college basketball, you have to have a good point guard spot. I mean, you have to be solid at the point guard spot. It's your floor general. It's a position that has to have a leadership role. And I think over the course of the 4 games, they developed that leadership role. And with that, we'll see here. Coming into this weekend with Augustana and Wayne, they're going to have to continue to get better, because it's not going to get any easier with Augustana and Wayne coming in. Both of them have talented guards as well, and their defensive assignments are going to be big. defending McCaffrey and Shelby or whoever we decide to match up with in Wayne.
Yep, and now we'll talk about that here shortly between the Mustangs and taking on Augustana on Friday and Wayne State on a Saturday. But we'll take a look at some of the highlights from last Saturday's game versus Northwest Missouri State at the RA facility as the Mustangs taking on Northwest. Second time these teams met this season. The Mustangs opened the season with a 72-67 victory over the Bearcats, and we've got some highlights. And we do apologize. Some of our editing here back at the university, we've got some spots here where it jumps around, but bear with us here. And we talk about some of the defensive stops. And here's one early, a charge taken by Taylor Huseby. Now we go to the offensive side and talk about those offensive rebounds. Here's the first of 12 by Bernard Birch.
And Bernard did a great job of getting in there and mixing it up. He's been improving in that area throughout the first 4 games. That's something that he has to continue to do. We like to send 4 guys to the boards, and he makes a big difference when he goes. On
this possession, and you talked about protecting ball screens and then protecting the box. Here's a couple examples right here.
And those are 2 of the keys that we talked about. One was defending ball screens, being able to not only defend the ball screen, but on the backside to have help to be able to protect the paint. We call the paint the box, and if we can protect the paint, make them become a jump shooting team, I think defensively we'll be in a lot better situation.
Casey Susan Guth getting some minutes here, a junior college transfer from Ridgewater. He's in the bottom left corner of the screen, and he'll get fouled as he takes it to the rack, and that's what you need for guys off the bench. And this helps. And as you see, he goes up strong and draws the foul. Did hit 1 of 2 free throw attempts. Now back to defense. Good ball pressure here by the Mustangs.
And here's another possession where when you're going to have a 1 point in the first 10 minutes of the game, we're going to have some defensive possessions for the highlights. But our guys were in good position, making them work for everything, keeping the ball in front of them. As you see, Bernard gets their point guard off balance, and he has to make a last effort to throw it off his leg. Goes back to our ball.
Jimmy Abraham at the top of the key. Finally, the Mustangs, their first basket, 10.5 minutes into the game, hits a three-pointer, 1 of 5 for the Mustangs in the game. And here's a nice pass from Abraham to Scott Rail off an end out. Mustangs heating up with a couple of baskets in a couple of minutes. And now a bunch of great highlights here on the defensive side is the Mustangs, again, allowed just 16 points in the first half.
And it was a good trap. We put some pressure on their player to make the great play, and fortunately for us, he turned the basketball over.
I think the television screen also thinking that it's been a tough day everywhere, and we apologize again for the editing, but that's on our end. But we're continuing here again. Some good stops there. You saw the blocks by the Mustangs, and now an offensive rebound here coming up for Scott Rail, or Trent Carlson, and then the Rail with the rebound.
Zager, you see here, stepping up and taking the charge. That was important. They have the ability to put the ball on the floor, get to the rim. We needed to step up and take some charges, and what that did is that made them less aggressive as the game went on, where they knew we were going to be there for Phil and Sink, and our defensive guys stepped up. Not only got charges, but Nick Smith, as you saw throughout the clips, got a few blocks or a few tips on balls, and that's where his presence comes in. I mean, he's also an incoming freshman, new guy who provides us another shot blocker outside of Taylor Huseby and Scott Rail.
Here's a good motion offense for the Mustangs. Scott Rail drawing a foul, and then now here's talking about that, a missed layup on one end, but Miller coming back and gets an offensive gets a basket the other way for the Mustangs.
And this clip right here kind of represents the whole day for both teams. A missed layup on one end, a missed layup on the other, and then we end up getting another layup on the other end. And I think both teams at times were frustrated offensively, but at the same time, both teams were defending at a pretty high level.
Mustangs go to a zone here late in the first half, and a couple of plays here coming up, leading to a basket for Matt Zager, and then a block here on the defensive end by Nick Smith. But you get the rebound. Nice job by Jordan Miller, and the Mustangs come back 5-on-4.
And Matt does a good job of getting his balance, has a spin, and then finishes the basket.
Continuing on the zone defense, Nick Smith, who had a couple of blocks in the game, half of the Mustangs 4 in the contest. You see him in the middle of the block in the paint. Again, Nick, 7 rebounds in this contest as well. Stayed on his feet, didn't go for the fake, and gets the block, and the Mustangs get the ball back. And now ending up the first half here, Taylor Huseby finds a cutting Jordan Miller who gets fouled. And that's how the half came, 18-16. A couple of missed extra points for the Mustangs, but heck, here we are. That was a term for the low scoring there, football term. 18-16 the score. Now we start the second half, and Lavion West with a big rebound. He goes coast to coast for 2 of his only 2 points in the game.
As here you'll see us moving on offense. Scott Rail with a nice kick out to Matt Zager for 3.
A big 3 for the Mustangs. Had just 5 in the game, hit some big ones late, but there's a block by Nick Smith again, and the Mustangs come in transition, and a 3 by Trent Carlson off a pass from Taylor Huseby.
And that's been a point of emphasis for us to run the lanes, run in transition, advance the ball up whenever we can, put the pressure on the defense, and it's something we have to continue to get better at. We're still at the beginning stages still, and understanding our transition offense, how to move and react off each other.
Well, the key too, I think, getting Taylor hustling down the floor, that opens up, more space for Trent Carlson, and that was a great example there, and Trent hit that 3. As we continue on here in the Mustangs on the offensive end, a foul there for Scott Rail as he's fouled in the block, and Taylor Huseby finding Jordan Miller, and nice 12-foot jumper. And here's a 3-pointer by Northwest, kind of a fadeaway, is only 3 of the season for Elijah Allen, but you counter right back with an offensive rebound and finish by Bernard Birch.
And this was, to give our guys credit, this is an example of our guys stepping up, and they made it. That was a big shot. He made that big 3. They had the momentum. We come down, we fight and scratch, and end up getting that offensive rebound. Bernard finishes it. And we find a way to just pull this game out. As we'll see here, they're going to double team Taylor Huseby, even triple team that early on, and he finds a way to get to the rim, gets fouled, keeps putting pressure on their team.
And the Mustangs get a stop on the defensive end. Now we're getting late in the contest. Trent Carlson spots up and buries the 3. Again, he had 2 in the contest, 2 of 5 from the field. And then Jordan Miller with a good finish off an end out.
In this part of the game, this is where we need a player to step up, a big player to step up in big moments, and this is where Jordan Miller stepped up for us. He found Trent Carlson for the 3, goes and gets a finish there, an and 1. Then he comes down and gets a defensive rebound, followed by, you'll see here in a second, as the ball gets reversed, knocks down a 3, which that is not a tough shot. He's catching with the
shot.
Or
yeah.
That is a tough shot where he's coming, popping out, and they got a guy in his face, and he knocks it down with a lot of confidence.
So that Mustangs now down by 3. Scott Rail tips the pass, and there's just about a minute and a half left to go in this contest, and Mustangs again down by 3, and Scott Rail, the senior, making a big jumper to pull the Mustangs to within a point.
And we'll work the ball around here. And this is where Scott's developed his game, the ability to step out and knock down that 17-footer with consistency. And that allows him to use his game to score in different ways, and it makes him more of a threat.
And the Mustangs down a point. Taylor Huseby gets the steal, and here's Scott Rail after the gets fouled here. This is the first time he goes to the free throw line. Mustangs down a point, about 16 seconds left here when he is fouled. Cuts to the basket. You see Scott in there on the block. And the Mustangs eventually will find him. There it is. Tough pass, and the free throw here is missed short, but there's Trent Carlson to get the big board. You elect to call the timeout. And now you set up the play here for Scott for a chance to win the game.
And actually the play was a little designed to go in a different direction, but the timing of the play breaks down. Taylor takes care of that basketball, doesn't turn it over, but hands it off to Bernard, who then finds Scott Rail. Unfortunately, he did not make the layup, but just wanted to make it a little tougher on himself to make 2 free throws.
Big one, he hit the first one to tie it up, and this one to win the game with 2.1 seconds left. He did it, and here's the last play for Northwest Missouri. Again, they had a pretty good defense by the Mustangs. Don't want anybody to even come close to following him in the final score, 47 to 46. The Mustangs get the victory over the Bearcats and now are 3-1 on the season. A nice way to finish off the non-conference portion of the season, and more importantly, Coach, with a couple of wins against Northwest Mo, it's 2 wins against Division II teams, and we're still, in the early part of this season, a long way away from thinking about the NCAA tournament. But we know over the course of the years that when you're on the bubble and getting Division II wins is very important, and the Mustangs did pick those up this last week, and now again, as I said, are 3-1 overall. Again, the Mustangs shoot just 29% in the game. That's their lowest shooting percentage in over almost 4 years. 2006 February was the last time the Mustangs shot less than 30% in a game, but you did shoot 41% in the second half and get outscored by a point, 30-29, but made some shots down the stretch and limited Northwest Missouri to just 34% shooting in the game as the Mustangs get the win. But the key again, a 38-33 rebound advantage, and that's kind of been the go-to thing for the Mustangs has been rebounding in the last 3 or 4 years. And again, you miss some shots, but you guys can get the rebounds. And it's got to be something about the mentality of this team and that you, as the coaching staff, has instilled in these guys, instilled in them, is just get those rebounds, regardless if it's a bad shooting night or not, because those second and third opportunities are huge to try to win a basketball game.
And it starts with Scott Rail and Taylor Huseby. Both of them bring that effort, that physicality that you need to get offensive rebounds. A lot of times with offensive rebounds, a guy's going to go to box you out. There's going to be contact on that initial shot, and there's certain guys who stop on that initial contact, and there's other guys that will bounce off it or try to get around it. And that's what Scott and Taylor have developed, is that ability to stay with it and to try to make a play, even though it might not look like they're going to get an opportunity. You never know. You get in there, you mix it up, all of a sudden the ball gets tipped 1 or 2 times, and they can come up with a loose ball, and that's what they've done.
Well, again, the Mustangs 3-1 on the season, now 2-0 at home, and we're starting up conference play. A new look to the NSIC this season for the first time in conference history, playing 22 conference games, up from 20 from the last 2 years. So we'll play everybody in the conference twice except 4 schools. We'll play them just once, and again, the Mustangs will play Mary and Northern State just one time, and Crookston and Minnesota State Moorhead are the only times, the only schools that will play once in conference play. So 22-game conference schedule. It starts up this weekend, and very tough matchups to say the least. Augustana, who has made the last 3 NCAA tournaments, they've been in the last 2 region championship games. 2 of the probably best players in the league, possibly. Both the offensive end for sure, and defense as well, and Cameron McCaffrey and Cody Schilling. Let's talk about the Vikings that we have coming up on Friday night, because Augustana, a team that's coming off a loss to Dakota State, so they'll be fired up, ready to go on Friday night.
And they will. And the thing about Augustana, it's we've had some pretty good games with them here in the past. Now, last year they got the better of us. I mean, last year it was probably their best shooting performance they had in the entire year. I mean, they shot over 70% from threes, and they were knocking down some tough shots. So I think our guys will hopefully recognize that they can shoot the basketball. They'll understand how to defend their scheme. Augustana is a team who, with McCaffrey and Schilling, both those guys can make their teammates better. Both those guys can get up a lot of shots and score a lot of points pretty quickly. So hopefully we can match up, or we can take them out of their rhythm. Hopefully we can, with our matchups, can present them some challenges as well.
And after the contest on Friday, the Mustangs will wrap up the 4-game homestand with a Saturday night game against Wayne State College. That also starts at 8 o'clock. And Wayne State, a team that's 4-0 entering the weekend. They play at Minnesota State on Friday before coming to Marshall. But a team that has some very skilled players as well. Had some great battles with them last year. We lost in double overtime in Wayne and then beat the Wildcats by a point in Marshall. But there are not going to be any easy games in this conference. I mean, we look at the records so far and the scores, and a lot of teams are winning. That it just makes the league that much more difficult to get through. And we joked, a team probably is going to have 5, 6, maybe 7 losses and still get in the NCAA tournament because this conference is just that balanced and that strong.
And Wayne's a team who, as you look throughout last year and even the start of this year, they're a team, they win a lot of close ball games. And you got to give credit to their coaching staff, give credit to their players for being able to step up in the end of game situations. And the Amory Shelby kid he's a talented player. Last year as a true freshman, he put up some good numbers, very close to being an all-conference player. And this year they're using him in a different way, not necessarily at the point guard. They move him off the point a little bit. So he has the ball in his hands and more of a scoring opportunities. And he's a kid who will be a main focus when we step up and play on Saturday night.
And again, the conference season begins this weekend at the RA facility, so no more non-conference games until the postseason. And the Mustangs start up this 22-game conference schedule. It should be an exciting next 3 months of college basketball here in Marshall, and we look forward to seeing everybody at the arena here this winter. Again, the Mustangs are now 3-1 on the season with the 47-46 victory over Northwest Missouri State last Saturday. And again, the Mustangs will host Augustana on Friday, December 3rd at the RA facility, and then Wayne State comes to town on Saturday night. That's also an 8 o'clock start at the RA facility. So we hope to see you out supporting the Mustangs this weekend at the RA facility. That's going to wrap it up for this week's Mustang Basketball with Brad Bigler. For the head coach, Brad Bigler, I'm Kelly Loft. Thanks for watching this week here at Studio One and at smsumustangs.com. And until next time, go Mustangs.